Oh, the Indiana Fever have struck out, or I don't even really want to say struck out when it comes to the stretch four because I don't think it was even an option. And the amount of these players, like with 800k, Naz Hillman being the cheapest of them all, I'm not saying losing out on $1 million for Azare or 1.2 for Alana Smith to stretch is striking out, but you guys agreed if you do need to sign a stretch.
So, Indiana just watched every major stretch 4 target slip away. Satou Sabally took $1.2 million to Dallas. Awak Kier secured a similar deal, and Nalisa Smith landed $800,000, while the Fever came up empty. But here's the part everyone's overlooking while they panic about the missed headlines.
So, the Indiana Fever obviously have a decent enough starting four in Mo Billings. Ideally, you would have wanted Alana Smith so Mo Billings come off the bench. There's no power forward available right now that you're like, oh yeah, they're definitely starting over Mo Billings. So Mo Billings is probably going to start the four. It is what it is. Dantas is probably going to be there. And for anyone who's saying Dantas, no. No. Dantas is not good enough.
Look, bringing Nalisa Smith off the bench only works if you have a clear upgrade, and right now, the Indiana Fever just don't have that. There's no power forward left in free agency who clearly takes her starting spot, so realistically, she's starting again, and that means Indiana has to get creative. They can't rely on a simple roster upgrade, they have to think differently, because here's the interesting part. There's still one player available that nobody is talking about. Someone who fits this exact role, and more importantly, someone who's already done it on winning teams under Stephanie White. That's the kind of move that doesn't make headlines, but could change everything.
I don't think people are realizing just how good this player is. So, last year, the Chicago Sky was a shit show. And one of the players that was on that team, Rebecca Allen, she was not great, albeit there were a couple of games she was unbelievable. She was the Sky's best player through 10 games. Maybe through...
Rebecca Allen. And yeah, I already know what you're thinking. You watched her in Chicago last season. You saw the inconsistency. 7 points one night, 11 the next, then completely disappearing. By the end, she looked unplayable. But here's the thing. Context matters. That Chicago team was a mess. Teresa Weatherspoon had inconsistent rotations. The locker room wasn't stable. And honestly, nobody looked good in that situation. So you can't judge a player based on a season like that.
So... she had 7, 11, 11, got injured. Did she get injured in this game? I can't remember what happened in this game. But 7, 11, 11, 13, 7, 8. And then I don't know what the fuck happened. But like the rest of her season, then she had a random 27-point game and a win against the Wings. And she struggled the rest of the season. This is a player who has been an important player for a lot of good teams. And more importantly, based on how the Fever recruit, on a team coached by Stephanie White.
Go back and look at her early game logs last season. She actually started strong, 7 points, then 11, then another 11, then 13. Through those first few games, she was arguably Chicago's most consistent player. Then the injury hit during that 13-point game. And after that, she was never the same. She never fully got back into rhythm, and at the same time, the team around her completely fell apart. But don't forget that 27-point game against Dallas. That wasn't random. That was a flash of what Rebecca Allen is capable of when she's healthy and playing in the right system. So the real question is simple. Does that version of her still exist, or did Chicago break her?
Backup stretch 4, playing 20-something minutes a night. She averaged 7.4 points on 35% from 3. For Phoenix the year before, starting over Sophie Cunningham, and started for Connecticut with Ty Harris, with DeWanna Bonner, with Alyssa Thomas. Started for that Connecticut team and shot 35% from 3. Beck Allen is a stretch 4. That is what she is. She is a passable defender, but she is a stretch 4. She can.
Here's what a lot of people forget. Rebecca Allen wasn't just some bench piece. She was actually a starter at the 4 for a Connecticut Sun team that finished 3rd in the league. And not just any system. She was starting under Stephanie White, the same coach who is now running things in Indiana. She averaged 7.4 points and shot 35% from 3. On paper, those numbers don't jump out at you, but that's not what her role was. Connecticut didn't need her to be a high-volume scorer. They needed someone who could stretch the floor, switch defensively, and execute the system without mistakes. And that's exactly what she did. She gave them spacing, versatility, and reliability. 3 things that don't always show up in the box score, but matter a lot when you're trying to win games.
Again, I've stood courtside just to get a gauge of these players. She's a decent chunk taller than me. Like, she stood relatively beside me, and I'm like, okay, yeah, she's definitely taller than me. Like, I'm 6'1", so the 6'2" height isn't a lie. I think she's been listed as 6'3" before. I would say 6'3" basketball height, maybe 6'2" without shoes is probably accurate for her. And you don't need if
Phoenix was the situation just a year before that. She wasn't even the starting 4 there, playing behind Sophie Cunningham. Think about that for a moment. Now people are acting like Indiana bringing in Sophie automatically guarantees her a starting role, but that wasn't even the case in Phoenix. That spot actually went to Rebecca Allen. Allen shot around 35% from 3 that season and brought exactly what coaches look for in a role player. She stayed consistent, understood her assignment, and didn't force extra plays. That's the kind of profile Indiana really needs next to Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. Someone who can space the floor, knock down open shots, and keep the offense flowing without disrupting the rhythm.
Dantas. And that's fine. You can run Dantas to 4 against double bigs. And if teams aren't running double bigs, you can play Beck Allen. There's no issue with that. And I thought Beck Allen was really good this year when I watched her play for Fener. So she had, for Fenerbahce, she averaged 7.2 points per game. And I actually genuinely thought she was good. I thought she played well. Like, I watched her play against Valencia in this game. She had 12. It literally felt like every shot she was taking was going to go in.
She's not small either, standing around 6 feet 2 inches, maybe even 6 feet 3 inches in shoes. Having seen her courtside, her size really stands out in person. For her position, she brings legitimate length and physical presence that you can't ignore. Defensively, she has the tools to handle multiple assignments. She can guard both 3s and 4s, switch comfortably in pick and roll situations, and hold her ground in the paint against most matchups. That kind of versatility is valuable in modern lineups. When teams go big with true double big combinations, that's where someone like Temi Fagbenley comes in to handle that physical interior presence. But against more standard lineups, Allen already has the size, length, and strength to compete effectively. She's not someone who gets pushed around easily.
Because she hit a couple of threes at the end of the year. She's size and athlete. But like, I don't see Steph White converting a player into being a shooter. That's not the way she rolls. She's not Carl Smesco. So why not just get the shooter? Why overthink this? Beck Allen's going to be cheap. Why? Because she had a disaster of a season for Chicago. Like, she's not going to cost much more than Carly Samuelson. Carly Samuelson set the tempo for glue guys.
And Dorgok doesn't even shoot threes. So unless Indiana's planning to bring someone in and completely rebuild their shooting mechanics, which Stephanie White doesn't do, why are we talking about these players? White's not Cheryl Reeve. She's not going to take a non-shooter and turn them into a 40% three-point shooter. That's not her coaching style. She wants players who already have the skills and just need the system to maximize them.
Glue guys who maybe had a down season. So I'm going to be real for a second here. Like, Beck Allen's a perfect player, and a lot of people are talking about Maisha Hines-Allen as well. People are saying that. I actually wouldn't mind Maisha Hines-Allen. She's big. She's a fucking enforcer. If anyone wants to talk about enforcers, Maisha Hines-Allen. No one messes with anyone if Maisha Hines-Allen's on their team.
Now there's one more name that deserves attention. Michaela Onyenwere-Olu. She's big, she's physical, and she plays with that enforcer mentality teams love in the playoffs. If you're talking about someone who sets the tone defensively and makes sure nobody gets comfortable around your stars, Michaela fits that role perfectly. She's had seasons where her shooting has been solid and others where it's clearly been inconsistent. She's also coming off a rough year and is a bit older now, but on a minimum situational deal, she's still the type of depth piece you can consider without much risk. But when you step back and really look at Indiana's situation, the bigger picture becomes clear, and that's where Rebecca Allen stands out. It's not just about shooting, size, or even familiarity with Stephanie White's system. Oh, it's the combination of all those things at the right time in the franchise's timeline. This is a player who didn't just randomly get minutes on a struggling roster. She started for a third-seed Connecticut team over players who went on to have strong careers elsewhere. That wasn't rotation luck. That was a coaching decision based on on winning. That Connecticut roster wasn't light on talent either. You had stars like Tina Charles, DeWanna Bonner, and Alyssa Thomas, yet Allen still earned her place in the starting five because she fit the system perfectly. Spot-up shooting, defensive effort, smart movement, and zero ego, those were her strengths, and that's exactly why she worked. Then you go back to Phoenix the season before, and the story is the same. She started at the 4, shot around 35% from 3, played solid defense, and helped that team compete at a high level. Sophie Cunningham eventually stepped into a bigger role later, but that was after Allen dealt with injury around the Olympic period. Until then, she was the clear starter, so the real question becomes, what exactly did Sophie do in Phoenix that Rebecca Allen didn't? Sophie Cunningham is a stronger scorer, yes, but she also needs the ball more, plays a higher usage style, and comes with more defensive and financial trade-offs. Indiana doesn't need another high usage scorer. They already have Caitlin Clark averaging close to 20 points and creating offense for everyone, and Kelsey Mitchell who can drop 25 on any given night. What they actually need is someone who can finish the opportunities those two create. That's where Allen fits perfectly. She spaces the floor, hits open threes, defends without overcommitting, and doesn't try to turn possessions into something they're not. And the price point matters too. She'll likely come cheaper because of recency bias from a rough Chicago season. But smart teams don't judge players off one dysfunctional year. They look at the full picture. Even overseas, she's already shown signs of returning to form. Shooting close to 45% from 3 in Spain isn't a small sample fluke. It's proof she still has rhythm and confidence. In big EuroLeague matchups, she's looked comfortable, decisive, and fully engaged again. That's not a washed player. That's a player who reset her career in a better environment. Her chemistry with Nalissa Smith also shouldn't be ignored. They've played together overseas, understand each other's spacing, and naturally complement each other. Smith works inside. Allen drifts out and spaces the floor. No overlap, no confusion, just clean fit. Add Caitlin Clark's playmaking, and those looks become even easier. Now the big question, can she actually start? And the answer is yes, but not because she's a star. It's because she's already done it on winning teams and succeeded. Connecticut didn't start her as a favor. They started her because it helped them win. She's 6 feet 2 inches or 6 feet 3 inches with real length, can switch onto guards, hold her own against most forwards, and isn't easily bullied in mismatches. She's not shutting down superstars, but she makes them work. Offensively, her job is simple. Stand in the corner, hit open threes, cut when needed, and don't force anything. That's it. And when you have Caitlin Clark generating constant open looks, that role becomes extremely valuable. If it doesn't work, Indiana still has flexibility. You can slide Smith to the 4, bring in Temi Fagbenley as a traditional big, and adjust matchups without panic. The key is versatility. You're not locked into one rigid system, and this is where Stephanie White changes everything. She already knows Allen. She's coached her, trusted her, and seen her succeed in her system. There's no learning curve, no experimentation phase, no guessing. That familiarity matters when you're trying to move from playoff team to real contender. So while others chase big-name swings, Indiana's smartest move might be the most stable one. Not a flashy signing, but a functional one. Not a headline move, but a winning one. Rebecca Allen fits the system, fits the timeline, and fits the stars around her. And in a tight cap situation, that kind of value might be the difference between being good and being dangerous.